Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new documentary, Rondo and Bob. And this is from director Joe O'Connell, and focuses on Robert A. Burns, an art director on the original Texas Chain Saw Massacre, who was obsessed with actor Rondo Hatton, aka the Creeper. So Burns tries to, their stories intersect, and this documentary tries to capture that. This is a weird documentary. I appreciate a documentary being bold and different and trying new things, because a lot of documentaries just lean into, you get this. It's a documentary. It does the same basic kind of stuff. This film does have interviews and perspectives from filmmakers and people involved in filmmaking and giving their perspectives of these two men's stories. I do have to say it's really low budgeted, and the audio quality is really off, and people start yelling. It's ear shattering, and the mixing of the audio isn't great. So you could tell this was made for the cheap. It's an interesting mix of black and white and color, because this has tons of dramatizations, and the dramatizations often come off really cheesy and awkward and not really well done, and they're not something that engage you and really get your attention into the story that they're trying to tell. And in many ways, if you're going to do that, I felt like this probably would have benefited just from having archival footage and having people's perspectives and them being interviewed about it. But they do so much dramatizations in this, and they're thrown in so willy-nilly. Sometimes you're like, is this a dramatization? What the hell's going on in this film? I had to ask myself that question every 5 minutes, because narratively, the structure of this film makes no sense. It's just all over the place, and it has no central thesis. It feels like it's trying to talk about so many different kinds of things that it just feels like a jumbled mess of ideas and perspectives for an hour and 40 minutes. And it's just is this really about Rondo and Bob? I don't know, because if you just sit and watch the film, it doesn't really seem that way. They seem like little plot threads thrown into a bunch of other threads that's just, here's just this bowl of threads. Hopefully keep pulling at them and you find some little interesting tidbits. But in general, it's not that interesting or compelling because it makes no sense. And by the end, I just thought this was a hot mess. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it did have some interesting elements to it. And that's the only reason I gave this any bit of consideration. But in general, this is a messy, messy film that I'm not even sure what I got out of it, because I'm not sure what it's about. And it should be about Rondo and Bob. On some level it is. But is it? I don't know. And that's how I felt by the time the film started wrapping up and those credits started rolling. So this documentary, maybe a little too bold for its own good. But I give it credit for that. But those are my thoughts on Rondo and Bob. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.